Good evening, everybody. Well, this video is about hypotheticals, what ifs, daydreaming, and thinking about the future. And it can also be used to think about your current pagan path and maybe some of the things that we take for granted. I watch a lot of sci-fi short movies on YouTube. And I was kind of inspired by one video. I forget what it was called. We were sending people out to explore, looking for a new Earth because the old Earth was being just destroyed, and we were looking desperately for a new place to live. We also got to think about our technologies. We are learning so much. Who knows, maybe in 5 years they might learn a way to build something like a warp engine, or learn how to produce wormholes and travel instantaneously, or near instantaneously, like 40 light years from here. Because think about it. The New Horizons spacecraft, it took 10 years to go from Earth to Pluto. 10 years. What happens if we were to develop the technology where we can travel that distance in an hour, maybe a couple minutes? I'm talking about, faster than light travel, like what's in Star Trek. Warp factor 2, you get from here to Pluto, boom, you're there. So, let's say we get this technology, and we are able to explore to all these new super Earths and exoplanets that they're finding. And what happens if they find one of these planets that we can populate? Could paganism survive there? And the answer is yes and no. We can take a lot of the principles of paganism and transplant them to any planet. We could. But each planet is going to be so different from what we have here that we would have to make modifications, sometimes a lot of modifications, to our pagan beliefs. Such as a simple fact about moons. The Earth-Moon relationship is amazing because we have one moon. It's a very large moon per scale of the Earth. It is a large moon. And, it orbits. It's in tidal lock. It's all these interesting little tidbits. But what happens if we run into a planet that we can inhabit, and it's kind of like maybe like Mars, which has 2 very small moons, or maybe it has a lot of moons, like Jupiter, Saturn. Little Pluto itself has 6 moons, I believe it is. And so you don't have one moon with one setting, because you have 6 moons, different settings, in relationship with the planet. Then, it could be at a different phase. Well, moon 1's at a full moon, moon 2's at a quarter moon, moon 3 is, last quarter, 4, 5, and 6 are new moons. How do you work on that? And then also, like I was saying, there is the distance. No longer does Mercury in retrograde matter when you're 40 light years away from Earth, from our solar system. Who cares if Venus is ascending or whatever, because now you're in a new solar system, and it would be their planets that you would be studying. And because of new planets, you would have to, start from zero and find out how the positioning of these different planets affect ourselves, because we might not be planet number 3. We could be planet number 2, planet number 7. We don't know. It all would depend upon the size of the sun to find out what comfort zone, how close we can be to it, and what other planets are around. And so that would affect us greatly. Because let's say we find a sun that's in this new solar system, a sun that's twice as massive, twice as bright, twice as powerful as our current sun. To be in the comfort zone, we would also have to be quite a bit further distance away. And so our year would be longer. And so if the days were roughly the same length, instead of a 365 day, we could have like a 500 some day year. So, we have our 8 Sabbaths, which are roughly about 45, 46 days apart. Our Sabbaths would be a lot different. It would be like 60 days apart, roughly speaking. So that would affect us. And I was just thinking, if we had multiple moons, the composition of the moons would be very important as well. We're pretty lucky. Our moon is relatively the same color. It's this nice gray, uniform color. But what about if we have moons with different composition? And so they have different colors, and how the light hits them might give you a completely different image than the uniform moon of the Earth. So that would be a way that would greatly affect, how we perceive it and the energies. And then you'd have other situations as well. What if we were to find a planet that is around a brown dwarf, which is one of the small stars, and so we'd have to be relatively close, and what if it was tidal locked? Which would mean that one side always faces that particular star, and one side is always facing away. One side would be always warm, and the other side just a nice shell. And so there would not be the seasons. We would have one side that is always experiencing a spring summer weather, and the other side that's always in constant winter. So we would not be able to do the progression of the year, the cycle of the year, because there would be no cycle of the year on this planet. So that was something I thought was quite interesting. How would you be a pagan on that? Sorry, a little thirsty. And then I was thinking about the gods and the goddesses on this. If we are 40 light years away from Earth, our gods would not be able to just be there whenever we want them. 40 light years is a great distance, and our gods, as I perceive them, are locked onto this planet. Let's take the Celtic goddess Arduina. She is a nature goddess. She is connected to the Ardennes forest. So that is her place. She could not, technically, as I perceive it, go to this new planet to take care of little old me. So we would not have our Earth gods there at this new planet. And so I was thinking about this, and what about dormant gods? Let's say we find a new planet. It's very similar to Earth. Let's say it's twice the size, but it's very early in the development of life. The most complex land animal would be amphibians. Um, no, no, no sentient life. Okay. Well, and on this planet, we'll call it Alderaan. We'll throw in a Star Wars reference. There's this nice mountain chain with a lot of trees, and in that because of it's full of life. It's got the energy there, and to kind of start to have a divine energy to that area, and one or two humans go in there, it's not going to change anything. But if we get a community, let's say 100 humans there, and they start interacting, their energies go with the other energies there, then all of a sudden we could wake up a dormant god-like creature or entity, and then all of a sudden Alderaan has a new god or goddess, and that we learn about, and then we'd have to relearn all of its, we'd have to learn all of its attributes. We could not we could not carry over, our understandings of what a nature goddess or god is and put it on this new god, because it's a new planet, it is new organisms, new terrain, new ecosystem, so it would be different, but possibly the same in some aspects. And so while we can take a very basic structure of paganism over to this new world, we would have to do a lot of refiguring everything. And then, here's, like I said, I thought a lot about this. 40 light years is an amazing distance. It really is. Maybe not in the grand scheme compared to the universe, but to us it is a large area. All of a sudden, the constellations that we know would be different, because you take any of them, Orion, we would be at a different location in our galaxy, and then all of a sudden these stars would be in a different order. And so the trusty Orion that we know today would be completely different at this new star, or I should say, new solar system. And so we would have to reconfigure all of our constellations for this new solar system. And we would have to do this. We couldn't really stick to our old ways, because that might work great for us, as the first generation of pagans on this new planet, new solar system. But what about the next one and the next one after that? They are going to say, well, what's Orion? Well, that's not Orion. Orion was over there. This is something new. Arduina, that was a beautiful goddess for Earth in Europe. But this isn't Earth. This isn't Europe. And so we would have to basically start from scratch and spend a lot of time learning the energies and cycles of every new planet that humanity was on. And I think that would be quite the undertaking. It would be amazing. The other thing I was thinking about was also, there's other life forms out in the universe. That is something I strongly believe. I think we would be very pompous if we were to think this planet is the only planet in the solar system, well, not so, in the galaxy, and definitely in the universe, to have life on it. And so what happens if we run into another species, another sentient breed of life forms. Well, they would have their own religious views. They would have their own perceptions of energies, and their cultural differences would greatly affect us. What happens if this other sentient race are not dual sexual like we are? You know how we have men and women. What happens if they are more of a gender neutral, and any two people can become partners and have children? They don't have to go male and female because they only have one gender. And so that would really affect the pagan views, because we have a great deal of discussions about the roles of male and female genders in paganism. We have our gods and goddesses. If they were an asexual or gender neutral species, then they would just have this neutral gender. And that is also something I think that would be pretty hard to adapt our pagan ways if we were to go to their planet, because their planet would not be a dual sexual planet like we are. And so all these things, would greatly affect paganism, because we're talking about an earth-based religion. Well, once we leave the earth, the rhythms, the cycles on other planets are different. The energies are different. And so, we don't know really how lucky we are to be here. And I just wanted to share that with you because I just thought that was quite interesting. I kind of like to think outside the box. So everybody, take care, be at peace. See you later.